decisions were made during the executive session, and the executive session request by the Good Samaritan personnel was denied. It does not fit the executive session parameters. So going forward, Randy, go ahead with whatever.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think I was talking about the financial support for the skilled nursing facility, and that's probably going to require all of those funds. My concern is the assisted living, especially the freestanding assisted living that's being built. You know, it's kind of hard to determine, you know, what type of fill-up that will be, how long it'll take to fill it up. My experience will be it'll take a little longer than we anticipate, but I hope I'm wrong on that. So there's going to be some financial losses, especially with a new operation. You got to get your staff in there. You have to get them trained, that type of stuff. So I guess the reason for my call, folks, is just twofold. Is you know, I'm open to any ideas. I'm open to, you know, if there's a better opportunity for the county to operate the entire campus. I mean, it's what's best for the county and you folks. But I just don't think there's going to be enough mill levy money to support the skilled nursing facility and the assisted living. But I hope I'm wrong. But it's just going to be really hard for Good Samaritan to sign off another long-term contract until we're guaranteed that any type of losses will be covered. So I guess that's just my concern. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have or any other thoughts or ideas that the county may have.
Well, a lot of the things that affect us, Randy, is Kansas now under more or less a tax lid. We have a difficult time raising taxes. If we go over a certain percentage point, which I believe is somewhere around 1.5 to 2%, we have to take those additional taxes before the voters, and they approve that type of thing. So we're about as hand-tied as you are. And we understand all these difficulties we have coming up. Again, a good solid answer, I don't know if I can give you that. We appreciate everything you've done for the community and the nursing home, and in hopes that you will actually go forward and we can sign a new contract with you. But exactly how we're going to finance this thing, that is unclear to us also. That's something we're going to have discussions with our auditors and our treasurers before we can make any kind of commitments like that.
How is the assisted living being funded? Is that a bond issue or is that a tax? So how are those payments going to be paid then for the new assisted living?
Can you help me out with that?
In regards to the personnel?
You're talking about the overall operation of the facility?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you guys had to do some type of a bond issue then to pay for everything for the nursing home update and then also the new assisted living?
That is correct.
So where are those payments coming from then?
The 6 mills.
It's coming from that money's already been allocated. There's 6 mills coming out of the budget for that. That's a separate 6 mills than what we use to operate the present Good Samaritan.
Okay, good. I was afraid it was the same 6 mills. So there's 2 6 mills. You got 1 6 mills to pay for the update and renovation, the new assisted living. You have a separate 6 mills then to pay for the operational support.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we're kind of both in a rock and a hard place because, like I said, I just don't know about the new assisted living. I know when I was talking to others when I was in my last trip, people are pretty positive that others are going to move back into the community, that they're going to take that service. Because you're going to have to get that thing pretty much filled in order to make it break even, just based on numbers I have with my other assisted living.
And you are correct, and those are all concerns that we have. We appointed a public building commission when we first, this project first got kicked off. We're relying on them to make sure their financing is all done correctly, and so far it is. They're doing a good job there. And we had the same concerns about filling this facility. It would be really nice to start off, full would be perfect, but at least have some of the units spoken for before opening. And I don't know where they're at there. I truly don't.
Yes, sir.
I think this is the county clerk, they're taking names down, but they can't do anything until they come up with a price to charge for the rooms.
Sure. And then I guess another concern, folks, is, we don't have a contract for that. We just have the management lease agreement for the nursing facility, so we don't have it for the assisted living. So does that say that you don't want anything, you don't want Good Samaritan to be involved in that right now, or is that being handled by that county or the community leadership group that you guys have formed, or how does that kind of work?
No, we're open to the prospects of you offering a management bid for this including this other facility.
Okay.
As far as the Public Building Commission goes, I think we're speaking with them. They're actually next. So
Okay.
it would be nice if one of the Public Building Commission people could contact you and get your concerns, and also maybe you may be able to answer questions for them. It would be nice for you guys to make that direct contact.
Also that board that you're on.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the task force.
Yeah, there's also a task force being formed now. We're kind of at a standstill waiting on some legal advice, but there's also been a task force assigned to seek out these contracts with whatever the vendor might be for operations of both facilities.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I am willing at any time to talk to whoever or do whatever it's going to take. I did meet with Tom on my last visit. We had just a good meeting.
you're speaking about Tom Keller, is that
Yeah,
correct?
Tom Keller, but
Okay.
I've just had no contact since, and I don't know, Jeff, if you have, or,
Well, that task force has met just one time,
Correct.
and time is passing towards the end of June, so it remains to be seen, I guess,
Well,
what they're going to come up with.
we were seeking out some guidance for this direction we're trying to go down.
Basically, what it boils down to is we're looking at hiring a consultant to assist
There you
in
go.
obtaining the lease agreement for both facilities. And so they were waiting on a response in regards to who would be recommended to be the consultant. And that's where I see that is left.
Yeah, I know that, so I don't know if anything's been progressing since then or not.
We've exchanged lots of emails.
Yeah.
Tom Keller, again, has reached out to this consulting firm. And we really just haven't heard anything back recently. So we're about as much in the air as you are, Randy.
okay. Well, you can understand my rock in a hard place, because I need to report to my superiors.
Sure.
Especially if the facility's going to operate at a loss. That's not going to work. In this day and age of everybody's trying to meet budgets and expectations and all that stuff. So,
Sure.
I just think we're going to have some answers pretty quickly here.
And I think you're correct. And I think you deserve to be to have your answer or your questions answered before you stick your neck out with any kind of contract. So
Yeah, I
probably
appreciate that.
one of the best things we could probably do is if we can get somebody from the Public Building Commission to contact you directly and see what kind of progress they made and what maybe some of their plans and thoughts are for moving forward.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great, and you can just include Jeff in that too, and be happy to talk, meet, whatever it takes to get this thing going, so we can make a decision. Because there's going to have to be a decision point probably by like May or something.
I agree.
Just with our contract being up, I sure would be open to just doing a couple of months extension if that would help. I'm not going to leave you guys high and dry.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. We read through your proposed budget for the future and was somewhat pleased by it. So I think we're moving in the right direction. And I hate to say be patient with us, because I know that is a very, very hard thing to do, especially when you're in that business. But again, I'll try to kickstart this thing a little bit and see if we can't get somebody from the Public Building Commission to contact you. Maybe they'll have better answers for you.
Okay, great. And then maybe we could just touch base maybe at the end of April. Maybe I can just get on your agenda again for a phone call, April 30th maybe, and just make sure, because we all know time flies. So.
Sure. And I think that's very appropriate, so.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
Randy.
it.
All right, thank you for your call.
You're welcome. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm on the Public Building Commission, so are you, Rod, right? Yeah. So we're not addressing the contract issue in our group. That's that task force or search committee.
We've kind of
that's
got to a
doing
standstill because we're, like Leslie said, we're trying to seek out some legal advice and some guidance on how to make these proposals, or what do we want in our proposal.
Yeah.
We're that basic.
Yeah. So Tom Keller got that task force kind of rolling, and
Yes.
now it's Randy Wick who's the chairman.
Right.
The Public Building Commission's concerned with the construction and organizing and
Well,
Keeping
they
the
organize the
financing in line.
financing for the
And,
construction.
there's some overlap somewhere on the PBC and also on that task force.
Sure, and we probably ought to all get together and meet and make sure we're going in the right direction. Would not be a bad idea.
At least the same direction.
Yeah,
Well, I will say the employees at the village are concerned.
yes.
It's
and
going to be happening.
We've heard that, and I don't blame them. It would be kind of frightful to think about making a huge change like that, because you got benefits, retirements, all those type of things to consider.
Yeah. And you've got another contract to consider later in December, right, with the
Yes.
hospital?
Yes. So it's a busy year for us, and it's not that we're ignoring any of these issues, it just takes time.
Well, we want to make sure we do them right.
Yeah.
Well, that, and you're all responsible for a lot besides this, too, going on, so I
I'm
understand that.
never very comfortable about spending somebody else's money, but we are working on these very things, just slowly.
All right, well, good. Well, we'll see what happens in April and touch base with Randy again then,
Okay?
at the end of April. So, I did have an agenda that I sent in. I don't know if you've all got that or not.
Yes.
If I could start off with a small thing that just came up yesterday, but, you know, those windows that we sold, and the money came in, that explains that, well, the one window that had a stone had hit it, probably from the lawnmower, so it was sold anyway at a discount of $100. Well, that very bay window has been on a trailer and stored at the fairgrounds. The owner went to pick it up, and our guy in maintenance went to prepare it, and he discovered that the outer pane of that bay window was completely broken out. Of course, the transport. So the owner is requesting to have her $100 returned. That's all. And whether you return it to her via me, or if you just do it directly, it's Chris Rice, that's up to you.
Need a type of board, come on, no, I'll talk to yours.
Okay.
Could I go ahead and make a motion that the monies be returned via the county treasurer instead of having to go through the Good Sam?
I'll support that.
It's fine with me.
Hear a motion, go ahead.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I just wanted to touch base on item number 2 there. Heartland's bill for hot water, $96 then, is that been paid? Are you holding off?
They told me that the problem's been fixed.
Okay. I'm not sure, you know. Hal Griffin is kind of like the agent working on it, and Ed doesn't return the calls, and Hal's been to the village checking. There is some hot water, but he wants to get with Ed and get his opinion, and let him know what's going on. So I can understand not paying that bill.
Yeah. Yeah, until we know you guys are in compliance now and everything's working all right, we're kind of hesitant to.
So, yeah, I mean, you need a statement from Hal. It's also okay. All right. Then there was another bill that came to you for fireproof caulking.
Yeah. I thought we talked about
paid
that.
that one, didn't
We paid that last time.
Okay. And I thought I'd just make mention of the status of the nurse call grant application. So the application's been submitted to Dane Hansen yesterday, before the end of the month. So it'll be considered in April. And the amount there is request from Dane Hansen to be about $33,000, added to the $7,900 that's in the budget for the old hardwired system in the new rooms.
Right.
So they have just started to put the walls up on the long-term care addition. So if it all works out all right, we'll get an answer, positive answer, and then when they go to put in the electric in the boxes and so forth, once the framing is up, the timing will be okay.
Okay.
And then I think, I'm not really positive, but I know Randy had mentioned he was requesting a payment to reconcile our accounts from December through February. That's not actually in the grant amendment, because it's a 6-month period, but he was requesting, if it's possible, to pay it instead quarterly instead of after 6 months.
So right now we're reconciling twice a year, right?
Yeah, in May and November.
Right. And he
Yeah.
wants to move it to a quarterly event. Is that what you're
He's
saying?
requesting if that could be possible. If there's another amendment drawn up, if the county would be open to that.
Oh, in the future, from going forward.
Well, from December.
And so that number, is that the number that appears here, the $104,000?
Yes.
$415?
Yeah.
Any discussion there?
What does the contract say? Does it say 6 months or every quarter?
The contract is twice a year.
6 months.
Can we change that, or do we want to?
By agreement of the party, in most of your contracts, if there's going to be an amendment or modification to an agreement, it could be done so in writing by agreement of the parties, but it needs to be attached to that original contract.
Okay.
Seems like they ought to just wait till May and then make a decision on a new contract.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be the easiest to do. And if they're gonna make a new contract for us to look at, they could just put that in that new contract.
Yeah, that's possible. So, I mean, Randy evidently is feeling like he'd like to not stretch it out that long when there's
Sure.
so much to repay.
And I don't know if we'd have to kind of sit down and discuss the pros and cons of the thing. I don't know if there'd be any disadvantages to us doing it this way. It's the same monies, it's
Yeah.
just different.
Yeah, just paid out twice instead of all at once.
I don't know, let's table that for a little while, Jeff, until we can,
I don't understand how it all works, but when do we collect? I mean, I know when we collect our tax dollars,
yeah, not,
are we gonna? We collect tax dollars twice a year. Are we
I
gonna,
guess what Roger's saying,
are we gonna throw ourselves in a
You're
bind
already funded for 18, from 17.
from 17?
so theoretically, the money's already been accounted
There.
for.
All right.
Again, you can see we're gonna have some further discussion on that.
Well, if you want, I can draw up an amendment to the amendment, then you can have something to look at.
That would be perfect.
Yeah,
With-
I understand that.
With Leslie's help and advice,
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, I mean, it'll be simple, it won't be
well, we're
a
simple,
complicated thing.
we're simple people, so.
Okay, well, we're all together
Yeah,
then.
we are.
I'll throw some language in it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, let's work on that.
All right, and so along with the budget for February, I also submitted this explanation page. Did you get that as well?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And I
But-
like this, to me, this is easier to decipher.
Yeah. Okay, well, the issue for me here is, one, we didn't collect up as much revenue as we should have from our residents, and sometimes payments from Medicaid do come in late, so we'll see what happens in next month with the revenues coming in. The other thing is that we really got hit hard by therapy. And we just had our annual meeting with the regional manager of our therapy provider, Synertix, who's a very nice person. It's very easy to work with. But it's very pricey, and I don't know if any mention was made to Kelly about PT servicing us too. I mean, at the moment, we only have one resident on therapy. It's not
Well, apparently,
going to work.
it, and I may be speaking out of turn here because there's no one here from the hospital, but from the way I understand it, is their employees cannot come to your facility. It's outside the scope of their licensure. But you could bring a patient to their facility, and that would appease whoever, wherever. So I was a bit confused by all this. So I asked a few questions, and the answers aren't very direct, but that is kind of a summation of what I took.
Yeah, well, I'm not up on what their constraints are, but, I mean, 10 years ago, Shara was coming up to the village and
I know it had
performing
something to do with their
therapy.
licensure, and again, I'm no expert on that, but it has been talked about. From the discussion that I got, if you would transport your patient to them, there's not an issue. But once you go try to take the personnel out of the institution and into another one, that's when some kind of snafu happens.
And who did you talk with about that?
Well, hospital people. I'm not gonna stick their neck out because I don't want to misquote an individual, because again, I didn't fully understand. I'm just trying
Okay.
to surmise what I understood to be the problem.
All right, well, maybe I'll check with Kelly and see what's going on.
Yeah,
and
I would.
He can tell me what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'd really
Is
hate
there a
to.
chance you could transport them to down there?
If there's just one, maybe, if they're healthy enough. But if we get 3 or 4 build up, I'll lose my social services person because she's our main driver. That's not, we have the facility for therapy.
Just
so-
not the therapist.
Yeah, we don't have a therapist.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I could try is to check with home health, because they have employed their own therapists.
Yes, they
for-
do.
For PT.
Yeah.
I can check with Celeste too. So that's all I have.
Okay, Jeff. Well, thank you, and again, we'll have some more discussions with our group and with the PVC. I really think it'd be beneficial for all of us to meet together.
Yeah, it would be.
Good idea. We'll try to make that happen.
Okay.
All right, thank
Thanks a lot,
you.
everybody.
I know we're running behind, but can we take a 5-minute break, please? Good morning.
I don't know this one. Got February's results.
No, not here. Yesterday we liked about
Well, it's organized by the corporate, so it's long term, but I think it's got a 30-day notice.
You're staring at me like you're gonna say something.
No. Gonna be.
I have a legal question for you until I get a chance.
Okay.
Hang on before you say anything, because that's.
It's overexposed.